All right, let's talk about the right time to progress. The right time to progress your career. When is the right time? So my goal for you in this episode is to get you from not right now, which is causing you to delay and then regret how much time it takes you to get round to actually proactively progressing your career, to get you from there to now is the perfect time. Now's the right time for me to take ownership of my career and start to drive it forward. So the reason for focusing on this week, well, there's two reasons. Number one is the number of clients that have said to me over the last year or so, I wish I'd started sooner. For example, they will have been reflecting on the amazing transformation they've had with a difficult relationship, for example, in the office. And so what they're seeing is how much longer they were suffering with this difficult relationship than they needed to be. And recognizing that if they had started work on this sooner, then all of that suffering, like it was unnecessary. They could have got all of that suffering over with and moved on to a much more effective and productive relationship with a difficult person, thinking of a particular client. Another client, one of her massive breakthroughs was her ability to then take feedback and grow through it versus resisting it, making it mean all sorts of things about her, beating herself up. Like now she has the skill, and I've taught her within Be the First. I've given her the feedback formula and taught her how to receive feedback. Now she's able to, well, she thinks completely differently about feedback. She's able to grow through it instead of feeling diminished by it. And that's something she's thinking about all of those times she had negative feedback or imperfect feedback, which was usually the case. It wasn't even necessarily negative. And she made it mean something about her and let it undermine her. And now she doesn't do that anymore, or she's very, very effective at catching herself when her brain wants to do that, right? And redirecting it to the value of growing through feedback. Another client who was caught up in overworking. So what I'll say about that, and overworking is a kind of general term, but massively caught up in doing everything herself. Scared actually of delegating, like proper hated it, felt totally cringe doing it. And therefore all the weekends and the late nights that she was doing because she was doing everything herself. Not to mention the fact that what she was doing is reinforcing an opinion, a view of her that her boss had, that she was kind of the workhorse, would always be in the weeds and wasn't able to see her as a candidate for promotion. But now, thanks to the work that we've done together inside Be the First, she is really owning that herself as a leader. She's projecting leadership. She is delegating so much more. She is having time to be much more strategic and thinking at a higher level, so that now that is changing the way her boss and the other partners see her. So these are just some of the examples of clients who are realizing, number one, the value that they're getting, the progress that they're making within Be the First, but number two, seeing how they could have had that advantage, had those transformations so much sooner if only they hadn't waited, which is why they tell me, I wish I'd started sooner. So I don't want this to be you. There's two things I want you to take from that. Don't use this against yourself. So if you have been delaying doing the work to progress your career, if you have been thinking about joining Be the First for a year or even longer, or maybe even 6 months, don't use what I'm telling you against you to think, oh, it's too late. It's never too late to start progressing your career. It's never too late to take ownership of where you want your career to take you. All right. So it's never too late. And it just means, if this is resonating, it means now is the time to act. And I'm going to tell you what you can do to get started at the end of this episode. Likewise, if you are more junior and this is the first time it's occurring to you, this has been the first time you're thinking about progressing your career, this is going to be perfect for you because it's going to give you the impetus to get started and not to delay this work. It's so important. And for both sets of people then who I'm speaking to today, what I want to offer is my upcoming webinar, which happens next Thursday on the 3rd of April, 2025, is going to be the perfect catalyst, right, for you getting started. The perfect moment for you to think, now is the right time. Now is the perfect time. Now is the best time for me to start this work. All right. This is what I want you to take away. I want to come back to talking about the webinar in a moment. But first of all, let's look at why this matters. And let me take you on this journey from not right now. I want this, but not right now to, oh my gosh, now is exactly the right time. So let's think about that piece then, where you're starting from. This is not about you not being sure whether you want to progress. It's true that you may be undecided about how you progress. For example, whether you want to go for promotion to partner, whether you want to be promoted where you are or elsewhere. You might not be clear on the actual precise goal, but you want to progress. You see the value of progressing. You see the value of getting better and better at your job, at your role. You see the value of getting more recognition through a new role or a promotion. You see the value of learning how to do your job with more ease and with more skill, right? So all of this, I know you're aware of, and you know you do want to progress. And what I want to add to that is most of you do plan to progress. You have a thought in your mind that, yes, I'm going to join Be the First, for example, or I'm going to join some other program, whatever it might be, I'm going to do it. But where you're getting stuck is with all of the reasons you give yourself for why right now isn't the right time. So how you know this is you is you literally say to yourself, yeah, I want to do this and I want to progress, but now isn't the right time. Or you say, okay, I want to progress. I know exactly I want to join Be the First, for example, but I've got too much going on right now. Or you say, well, work is full on. I know, I'll wait until things go quiet. Or you've got something perhaps happening in your personal life and your thought is, oh, I just need to do this first. So that's some of the thoughts you're having, and that's how you know that you are putting it off. And the reason why all this does is delay you getting the result that you want to have in your career, delay you getting those transformations like the ones I shared about my client. The reason why that happens is because those thoughts make you, at best, interested, right, in progressing. It makes you relaxed about progressing. And the thing about being interested in something and feeling relaxed about it, or even another emotion might be you feel curious about progressing your career. The issue with those emotions is not that they are wrong, but they are not emotions that are going to drive you to take action. They are not emotions that are going to help you to see what you're doing right now and how you're in the thick of something, or what you're struggling with right now, to see that as something that you can deprioritize over the higher goal of taking ownership of your career, knowing, by the way, that it's going to help all of those things that you're struggling with. So it's not that you're saying none of those things matter, none of the reasons why you feel you can't start progressing your career now, not that those aren't valid reasons. It's about you being able to see the decision and the commitment to actually take ownership of your career and start progressing it as being how you solve any other problems, right? How you solve the problem of not enough time, how you solve the problem of being overwhelmed, feeling overwhelmed, how you solve the problem of like literally work being full on, you having a whole list of things that you think you need to do first but don't have time to do. Like you progressing your career, taking control and ownership of your career is how you solve those things. But when you're in the thinking of this isn't the right time, I've got too much to do right now, then the feelings of like being curious and interested and relaxed, they just aren't going to get you there. They aren't going to drive you to take action. But instead, what will happen, and again, have a think about it, is this you? What those thoughts do is have you just talking about progression, talking about whether or not you should go for partnership, talking about whether you're happy enough in your existing role or you want to push to the next level, talking about whether you should go elsewhere, doing a lot of talking and not very much acting and taking steps forward, right? It also has you consuming lots of information and lots of media about how you might go about progressing. Yeah, this is what happens when you're like interested in progressing your career. You're curious about progressing your career. You're relaxed about progressing your career because you know, like you've kicked it down the road. You've got all this stuff that you're prioritizing first. So one of the other things you do is all the consuming. And what that does is it gives you the impression, the illusion that you are progressing. But actually, what you're doing is consuming. As long as you're not implementing what you consume, which typically when I speak to you, you're not doing that. You have a lot of knowledge or tips or ideas of things, of skills you might need or tools that you could use, but you're not actually implementing. So you're not proactively progressing. You're not taking ownership and doing the work. Another thing that happens, or what you find yourself doing, and let me know if this is you, is opportunities come and they go. So you get the opportunity to take ownership, step into action, start progressing your career, and you let them go. And a case in point would be when I've opened up Be the First in the past. And what's happened is because you're feeling interested or curious and relaxed, you're more of a bystander. And so you let that opportunity go. And I just want to offer, none of this is, and I don't want you to use this against yourself as a judgment for you delaying this really important work, right? It's not about saying you're wrong not to have started with this work already. What I'm doing is just showing you how, when you're in this pattern of thinking it's not the right time, feeling relaxed or curious or interested, and then what you do is you talk about it, you consume the information, you let opportunities come and go, and you keep postponing it. The result you are creating is that the right time never comes. That's the point. So by thinking now's not the right time never comes. Weeks, months, for some of you, years go by with you being passive in your career. That means letting your career happen to you. That means being left behind when everybody else or other people around you are proactively progressing their career. And it also means not getting the promotion, right, that you were expecting, and you don't know why. The number of you that reach out to me and say, well, the other person, they gave it to the other person. I can't believe it. I was told it was me. And you cannot understand why you didn't get promoted. That's one of the results that can happen when you're constantly telling yourself, now's not the right time for me to take ownership, for me to progress my career. Like if you're not doing that now, then there might well be a time in the future where you don't get that promotion and you realize that's why. Or rather, you don't understand why, but when you think back to having listened to this episode, you realize it was the not taking ownership beforehand. That was the reason, or that was the contributing factor. Okay? And the other thing that happens or can happen is that your things can go a bit wrong. So there's one thing if you don't get the promotion you're expecting or hoping for. But another thing, and I hear this a lot because a number of you have come to me and you've booked a consult with me, for example, when you've just left your current firm or business, right? You've just left the company. And what you're saying to me is, this happened to you, this happened, your career happened to you and you found yourself being let go and you're frustrated and angry and what's gone wrong. So you come to, it suddenly becomes urgent to work on your career because you have a problem to solve. The problem of now I haven't got a job and I need to get one really quickly. I need to get one right away. Or now I've had this really traumatic, awful experience with my other employer and I need help with that before I can even think about progressing. Yeah, so one of the consequences of the constant delaying, putting off, kicking down the road, you taking action for your career is that your career also unravels. Yeah, and you're then trying to progress, like you're trying to put it back together before you even can think about progressing. So I'm really hitting hard with those consequences because I want you to appreciate what feels like a really harmless, innocuous decision. Not right now. I'll come to it later. I'm planning to progress. I'll do it after I've finished this or after this has changed or died down. I want you to see that really innocent and, logical explanation or reason for delaying can turn into a really big problem for you later on. And we don't want that, right? We don't want to create the result that the right time for progressing never comes. And that's potentially the track that you are on when you don't take action right now. I'm sharing this with love because I want as many of you as possible to be progressing from a place of strength, from a place of this is where I am, I know what I want and looking forward. And that be the motivation you have to progress your career, to take action, versus it's a mess. Everything's gone wrong. I don't know what to do. I had to leave just to save my own, for my own sanity or save my mental health, right? Or they let me go. That's a very different place to be when you're thinking about your career and what you want for yourself next. Okay, so in order to sort of help you get past this and start to really appreciate, understand, and feel the urgency of taking action in your career right now, of seeing now as the right time to start progressing, I want to highlight the number one really mistake that this comes from. And I see this a lot. I think this is what's going on in your brain, because what I did as I was preparing for this session and thinking about how can I show you what's going on in a way that it makes it, you can understand, okay, this is not serving me, right? So the number one mistake I could identify both in myself for times when I kick things down the road, not my career, but other things. And what I've seen in some of you is what you do is you think about the process. In other words, you think about the how instead of the result. So the process, in other words, the steps that you need to take to get somewhere, you think about that, the work involved, what it might take, what it will mean, versus the actual result that you will get when you follow that process. So here's an example. Actually, I'm going to give you 3 examples to help you to see how you do that. So I want you to imagine, so these are analogies. I want you to imagine going on holiday, right? So it's the equivalent of thinking about the travel and the travel arrangements versus thinking about sitting on a beach, sipping your favorite cocktail or juice in the sun, relaxing. Yeah. Can you see how those are 2 completely different things? The prospect of travel arrangements, getting everything done beforehand, packing, sorting out passports and tickets and boarding passes and all of that. If you are just thinking about, okay, when am I going to do that? Then of course your brain is going to offer you it's not the right time. Versus if you think about sitting on a beach, finally relaxing, letting go, getting the sun on your face, hearing the sea in the background, perhaps your kids playing in the sand nearby, for example, and you having dinner with your family every night. Like when you think about what it's like when you get there, oh my gosh, like, don't you just want that right now? Doesn't that feel like now is the right time to really plan, to like, okay, I need to plan that because that's what I want. So what it does by thinking about the destination, right, is it activates in you the drive, the commitment, the determination, the desire to start working, to make now the right time to put the wheels in motion to get that result. Another example is, let's say you want to lose weight. Thinking about the how would be focusing on, okay, here are all the things I'm going to have to stop eating. I have to deprive myself of this, and then I'm going to have to follow this weight loss strategy. I'm going to have to exercise. Like that feels like a lot. And of course, your brain is going to offer you, in this example, it's going to offer you, it's not the right time to do that. Your brain's going to do everything possible that it can to avoid getting started on that right now. Versus if you take your brain and you start to think about how you will feel when you are at your ideal weight, how you will look when you are at your ideal weight, how healthy you will be, how much vitality you will have, how well your clothes will fit you, how much more confident you will feel walking into the room, then suddenly that is a strong desire. That is something you want. And you absolutely, your brain is going to be on board with doing what it takes, like signing up to do what it takes to get that now. Yeah. So the third analogy I want to give you is having a baby. This is the other one that came to me. thinking about 9 months of pregnancy and going through childbirth, right, is not, doesn't tend to be the motivation, right, for bringing a new baby into the world. Like, what is required is not the focus on what those 9 months will be, although some people get really excited about being pregnant, right? I personally, it was okay. It wasn't awful being pregnant, but there were times when it was really hard, it was really long, and obviously it's exhausting and a lot's going on in your body. And then there's childbirth, right? If you're thinking about that, then of course your brain is going to offer you. So in my case, brain would offer me like, oh, I'm not really ready right now. It was certainly the case before my first son, Dylan, was born. It's like, oh, well, now's not the right time. I've got a whole load of things that I need to do first. Versus literally imagining holding a bundle in your arms, right? Holding a new baby human being in your arms that's like yours and you're going to nurture and raise. Like, what a compelling picture for you. So what you can see there from those three analogies, those three examples, is the importance of choosing to focus on the result you want to create, like having a vision for where you want to be, what you want your career to be, how you want to be, your experience of being a Black lawyer to feel, right? What you're going to be doing day to day that's going to be different now to what you're doing and how you show up right now. That kind of like vision, the more you can get into that, the more compelled you're going to feel, right? The more compelled you're going to feel to actually do the work it takes to get there, to actually actively progress your career, do the progressing, okay? So the reasons why, if we think about focusing on the how and why this doesn't work, in addition to it kind of not being very appealing because you have this idea of what the process will be. Like, some of you will have the idea that, well, I'm not going to progress my career now. I'm not going to take ownership now. I'm not going to join Be the First now because I don't have the time. There's a lot going on. And that's built on certain perceptions. So I want to take a look at those and unpick those to show you really why focusing on the how is a mistake that will it will lead you off track. It will keep you stuck. I think that's what the expression I'm looking for. So number one, you could actually be wrong about the how. You could actually imagine that getting to your career progression goal is going to be a lot harder than you think, is going to take longer than you think, or is going to require more, it's going to be more uncomfortable than you think. Like, you could just be wrong about that. At the moment, one of the things that for sure is happening is if you're consuming lots of information about how to progress and different tools and different strategies, for sure, you have a sense that actually it's a big deal and you're going to need loads of time to dedicate to it. Versus in Be the First, I give you 5 skills and they're the only skills you need to focus on to progress your career as a Black lawyer. All right. So actually, you can have this misconception of what the process is like. We often will underestimate, right, what we'll enjoy about something and overestimate what we won't or what will be hard about it. For example, in Be the First, I know some of you have a worry about it being a group program. So what you underestimate there is the value of being in a community and learning from each other, like the learning that goes on in this group just through listening and hearing someone else be coached, as well as what you learn and the progress you made and the transformations you have, those light bulb moments when you're being directly coached from me. Like, all of it contributes. And most people underestimate that until they're in the room and they're like, oh my gosh, I love group coaching. This is so good. Thank you so much for sharing. And they'll say that to someone else in the room. I learned so much from that. It's such a good feeling. But that's often underestimated. And that's what happens when you focus on the how and you have a wrong idea of what the how actually is. Another example, showcasing your value. I've been talking a lot to that recently. Right now, you might be like overestimating how hard that will be, how uncomfortable you will find it. And what you may not know, and what I'll talk increasingly to, is that literally the process I teach you, so the value equation that I give you inside Be the First, that makes showcasing your value so much easier. You get the value equation, which tells you what your value is. It's literally a plug and play. Yeah, so it's a lot easier than you may be thinking right now. And you thinking that it's going to be hard, or you thinking that there's certain things aren't going to be good about it, is actually like a misunderstanding of what you'll get in the program, which is why you don't want to make the decision about when to join Be the First based on your perception of what the process is. All right, point number 2 I want you to consider is when you're delaying getting started, when you're focusing on these are the steps I'd have to do instead of focusing on the vision and the result that you're going to get when you've done them, what you don't tend to take into account is the progress you're going to make all along the way. So how your life improves because you decided to go for your goal. All of the things that happen along the way, such as like the feeling of taking ownership, literally from the moment you join Be the First, is such an amazing feeling that you are finally taking control. Versus the feeling you have now so often of feeling powerless, feeling stuck, or feeling that there are lots of things you want to work on or need to improve, but you're not doing anything about it. So there's such a big boost. And I talked in the episode last week about the value of just joining Be the First and how that makes you more valuable instantly. So that's one example of the progress along the way, which if you're just focusing on the how and you're not committing and getting started, you are most likely discounting what can be changing for you every single day that you are progressing. It's not just delayed. It's not just a matter of getting those results, at the end of the 6-month program. It's about everything that happens on the way and how you change, how your confidence starts to grow, how your skill set grows. So I mentioned already that in Be the First, there are 5 vital skills that you need to progress as a Black lawyer, and that's it. And I teach them. It's learning how to manage your time. So important. Being able to grow through feedback. That's skill number 2. Building relationships with people who are different to you. Skill number 3. Being visible. Skill number 4. Showcasing your value is skill number 5. When you're building that skill, every day you're working on building that skill, it's every day you get better at that. Yeah. So can you see how in getting better at it, you will already be reaping the rewards along the way? That's why I teach you the skill, so that it's something you will have at every stage of your career. So powerful and so effective from day one, not just at the end. Okay, the third thing I want you to think about is how you delaying, postponing, joining Be the First, progressing your career, being in ownership. You delaying joining Be the First is you prolonging your own suffering. Like every day that you're not taking action to progress is actually another day that you're not delegating, you're feeling overwhelmed, you're saying yes to all the things. It's another day that you're not taking enough care of yourself, right? That's something we take very seriously inside Be the First. It's another day that you are at the risk or a step closer to burnout. It's another day feeling isolated, feeling excluded, questioning your value. It's another day second guessing, another day working twice as hard, another day feeling left behind. And like those days will just keep compounding, keep piling up. Things don't stay the same. They get progressively worse over the time. I want you to think about what are the consequences of things staying the same. This is the question I want you to have in your mind as you think about joining Be the First. As you think about, oh, well, I want to join, I want to progress, but I'm going to wait. Now's not the right time. Yeah. What are the consequences if nothing changes? That's one of the things to really take into account. So know that the longer you delay, the longer you prolong whatever suffering you're experiencing right now in your career. And then the flip side of that, and this is the fourth thing I want you to think about when you think about delaying, you think about it not being the right time, and that is you're delaying the result that you want, something you want for your career. So every day that you delay and decide it's not the right time is actually a day that you're not feeling in control of and loving, by the way, because when you feel in control of your work and when you're driving it forward, it's another day, therefore. When you delay, it's another day where you're not feeling that in control and you're not loving your job. It's another day you're not getting the support you need. It's another day you're not attracting those interesting opportunities or the best work allocation. It's another day you're not getting more of the recognition you deserve and not fulfilling your potential. These are the stakes, my friend. This is what is at stake when you delay for another month or another 6 months. Prolonging your suffering in whatever shape or form you have that right now, and delaying the relief, delaying what's possible, delaying what you actually want. I talked earlier about like who you will be, what your life will be like, your experience of being a lawyer will be like when you progress to the next level. Getting you to really think about that, lean into that, imagine that for yourself. And it's like the holiday, right? It's the beach with the cocktail in hand or the juice in hand and the kids playing in the sand and the sunset going down, right? That's you putting that off. Imagine if you just kept putting off going on holiday. That's the same thing. Look at what you're missing out on. And look at the suffering that you are prolonging in terms of just continuing on the same trajectory, getting more and more exhausted, more and more overwhelmed. All right? So I've given you there some real food for thought about the consequences of not taking action right now, the consequences of not joining Be the First at the next enrollment, which is coming up. I'm going to tell you all about that. Okay? So if this is you and this is something you've been stuck in, okay, or if you're just not sure, you have been on the fence about joining Be the First, don't worry. We're going to change all of that right now in this episode, right? This is my call to action to you to change that. And I am going to show you how, right? I'm going to show you that it's the right time. And I'm going to show you exactly how you can get started literally a week from now. You can get started taking action so that you put an end, right? You don't have to suffer another day and you're not prolonging the results you want. You're not prolonging getting better, feeling more fulfilled, feeling happier in your job. You're not prolonging that another day either. So I want to recommend 3 steps, right? 3 steps to making now, today, the right time for you to take action, to join Be the First, start proactively progressing your career. Step number 1 is you want to see the vision. You want to see the vision of what does it mean? Whatever your goal is, and if you haven't got a specific goal, I want you to just allow yourself to imagine what you want your career to be like. Like if anything were possible, what would it look like? What would you be doing? Where would you be? Like what level would you be partner? Would you be waking up and get really specific in your details? Like how will your life be different? What will you be doing and thinking and seeing and feeling differently? Perhaps you'll be waking up in plenty of time, not exhausted, fully rested, and exercising before you go to the office. Perhaps you'll be going into the office, feeling fantastic, loving your job. Perhaps you'll get to your desk, open your email, and have a really, it could be an inbox full of 100 emails, but you feel totally calm and in control. Yeah. Maybe you're attending partners meetings. Maybe you're sitting in board meetings. If you're an in-house lawyer, maybe you're attending those board meetings and you're feeling equal and you're feeling confident and you're feeling valuable and you know you've got value to add. Maybe that's what's going on. I want you to really get into the vision and start to see it for yourself. Your goal brought to life. That's step number 1. Step number 2, find a process you trust. Okay. So just the holiday analogy works really well here for all of these steps. So with step number 1, seeing the vision, it's literally imagining yourself on the beach. With step number 2, finding a process you trust, that's like finding a choice. It's your choice of airline or travel company that you trust. So I want to recommend finding a process that you trust. And I want to offer that Be the First is a process you can trust. And I'm going to come to that in a moment, tell you why. And then the third one is take the leap, right? So finding the process that you trust, in other words, the how you're going to achieve your goal. If you found one of those, that's not enough. What you need to do is actually commit. You need to book it, right? You need to book a holiday in order for it to happen. It doesn't matter if you've got all of the information you need, the restaurants you're going to go to, the hotel you're going to stay at. You actually have to book them. So you have to pay money and commit, right? I love this holiday analogy. It's working so, so well. So just 3 things to get you from not right now and maybe later and it's not a priority right now to, oh my gosh, now is exactly the right time. See the vision, find a process you trust, and then commit. Take the leap, okay? All right, so I am going to offer you a way to do all of that next Thursday. I mentioned earlier about the webinar. Here are the details. I want you to make a note. So on Thursday, the 3rd of April, 2025, 1:30 p.m. UK time, okay, I'm giving a free webinar. It's called Be the First, How to Succeed in a White World Without Working Twice as Hard. How to succeed in a white world without working twice as hard. That last bit is very important. And here's what I help you to do. I will help you to see the vision. So create a vision of your life that is so compelling. You will want it right now. You will want to get started right now. It's going to be so compelling. It'll override your procrastination, right? It'll override the suspicions of, oh, well, the steps to achieving that sound like quite a lot. I don't think I have time for that right now. So I'm going to help you to see the vision of what's possible for you and really lean into that and start to feel it. I'm also going to walk you through the Be the First process. In other words, I'm going to give you everything you need, all the information you need, so you know you can trust that process, those 5 skills, and then the mindset work that I do and mindset I give you, right? Call it the secret sauce. You'll learn more about that in the webinar next week. You will be able to trust and see that will get you exactly to your goal. Yeah. It'll be a process you can trust and you'll be able to see that. And I also am doing a 30-minute Q&A as part of that webinar. So what that means is you'll have the opportunity to ask all of the questions and I'll answer all of those and any of your doubts so you can get really comfortable with why this process is so perfect for you. And then the third thing you will have, most crucially, is that opportunity to take the leap, to commit. I will be opening enrollment to Be the First, to the May cohort of Be the First. I'll be opening enrollment on that day. So on the 3rd of April, 2025, right? So if you're listening to this afterwards, then you're too late, right? But hopefully you'll be listening to this before then. So on that date, 3rd of April, 2025, I open enrollment and it will be open until the 9th of April only. So that's also a key thing, right? So if you want to join, knowing now that now is the right time, it's the perfect time for you to join Be the First. That's the window of time you have in which to join and you want to take action right away. All right? So I hope you found that really helpful. I hope it's got you reflecting on the consequences, the cost, right, of every day you delay progressing your career, every day you decide to put off joining Be the First. I've shown you the 3 really simple steps that you can take to actually make sure that you don't spend one more day like suffering, like in that suffering of what's not working for you in your career right now. And you don't spend one more day like not having the results that you want. Because as soon as you commit, you will start to feel the change. As soon as you commit, you will start to feel the progress. You will feel the benefits. And you will see that there's so much in that how along the way that make every step worthwhile. All right? All right. Well, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a pleasure to talk to you about this. I have added the link to the webinar next week. It's in the show notes. All right. So make sure you register. It is a free webinar. So do sign up, but you must register in order to attend. So you'll find the link in the notes to this episode. All right. Great to speak to you. Thanks for your time. I look forward to seeing you next week on the webinar. I'll speak to you again soon. Bye for now.